Hey everybody, it's Brian from Greenfield. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to create, or I am going to create two characters in Draw Steel using the website or app that one of the um, members of the MCDM Discord created called Forge Steel. You can see the link right here. I'll also include it in the description. I haven't really used it yet. I've seen it and some of my players have used it, but I haven't gone through to use it in detail yet. So I'm excited to try it out. I'm also excited to actually create some characters and draw steel because I haven't been able to do that either. I have finally gotten around to running one of the adventures out of the most recent backer packet, the only backer packet so far. I ran the Bay of Black Bottom adventure the other week, or excuse me, last week, and hopefully I'll get to run the next one, the Fall of Black Bottom, sometime soon. But for now, I'm going to actually get around to creating a character. And now this video is going to be a little bit different. My last few, my first three really, were, highly scripted, short, punchy, and this is not going to be that. This is unscripted, probably a bit of a ramble, and it's just me figuring out, reading through the packet where I think is appropriate and creating stuff in Forge Steel. And I just really just going through this together to share my thoughts as I go through it and to see if we can make some pretty cool characters. Although I think they will be pretty cool because I already know what I'm going to make. So the plan is for me to recreate two NPCs from my D&D game. I'm going to recreate them in Draw Steel. And normally I would recommend to never do this, meaning never use player character creation to make an NPC. Usually I think newer DMs sometimes fall into that trap, and it can be useful for inspiration or for abilities, right? So if an NPC I know I want to be inspired by being a fighter, for example, in D&D, I know maybe I'm going to give them action surge. But also giving something action surge can actually be extremely dangerous to give that to an NPC. So you have to be careful doing this. Usually you end up making them either very underpowered or very overpowered. And so I'd recommend normally not doing that. And maybe I'll do another full video on that concept at some point. But for this is for my own fun. These are not going to be used in a game at all anytime soon. And I picked these two NPCs because I think they translate really well into the Draw Steel framework, classes and ancestries and so on. And so those two characters are called Sorrow and Woe. Sorrow, the black sun, and Woe, the white sky. These are two enforcers or assassins of an organization called the Shroud, which is a multiplanar criminal organization that I use in my D&D campaigns in my own world. And the Shroud is very interesting for a lot of reasons. I plan to actually do a whole video or series of videos on the Shroud. I'm planning to write sort of a companion piece to give DMs, GMs the tools to use the Shroud in your own game, because I created it to fill a particular need, and I'm not sure if that need is being met with other sources out there. Because the idea behind the Shroud is that they are a business. They are a high-level, very dangerous criminal organization, and they're a business. They are not a world-ending cult. They are not demon worshippers. They are not low-level thieves guilds. All of those things have been done and done very well. But what I really wanted to create, or the need I wanted to meet, was of something like Spectre from James Bond, where, they are facilitators, they are middlemen, they are power brokers. They can blackmail you. They can control politicians. They're arms dealers. Like that kind of criminal. High level, dangerous, but not a fanatic. That is what the Shroud is, and the role they fill in my games. And so they're a permanent fixture of the campaigns, the two campaigns now I've run. And the Shroud can be used differently. It has been used differently in both campaigns, where in the first campaign they were set up slightly more as antagonists. They were sort of facilitating the ultimate villain of that campaign. Whereas in the second campaign, they have a much more neutral relationship to the player characters, at least so far. That could obviously change. And so these two characters we're going to create today, Sorrow and Woe, are the head enforcers of this multiplanar criminal organization. In D&D, they are tieflings. They are twin tieflings. So in Draw Steel, they will be devils. And so let's get into it. So I'm going to use Forge Steel to start creating them, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so devil, obviously. So we're going to create Sorrow first. The Sorrow is the brother and Woe is the sister. They're twins. And but I'm going to create Sorrow first. So they are devils. And I need to go to the devil in the rules packet because I need to read about what I can make with them. Devils have some options, these fiendish features. When you create a devil character, you have 3 fiend points, which you use to select a number of the following features. So I need to pick from this list to sort of customize Sorrow. And I really like this. I mean, obviously, because you can use it to sort of slightly customize the devil for the character you want, the way you want it to play. And so Sorrow is the lithe, agile, very gymnastic one. Sorrow, spoiler, is going to be a shadow. And so I like the idea of him being very fast, like beast legs. And what else? Barbed tail. Your pointy tail allows you to punctuate all your actions. Once per round, you deal 1 extra damage. I like that. I also like, we know we're going to use 2 fiend points on the beast legs. So glowing eyes. When you take damage from a creature, you can use a triggered action to curse that creature for daring to harm you. That's cool. Hell sight can be cool and useful. I don't know. Not horns. Let's see. Well, I know I'm going to do beast legs, so let's do that. Because Sorrow is the fast, agile one. He's the one who is all over the battlefield, jumping, flipping, teleporting, isolating targets. I probably barbed tail. I like the idea of the tail being sort of like an extra weapon. That's as he is spinning and whirling, the tail is part of that whirling threat. So let's do barbed tail. Okay. I think that's it for that. Okay, and now next up we have culture. So let's go to culture, which I gotta skip all the way down here. Okay, here we go. So they are devils. Sorrow and Woe are devils. Let's create this. I can click on this, right? Yeah. Language. Anjal, Kalian, spoken as probably this. They grew up in the Hells, so we'll choose that one first. And environment first. So nomadic, no. Rural, secluded, urban, wilderness. Almost definitely urban. I mean, they grew up in the Hells, and that is a very urban place. I assume in the MCDM's world, and it certainly is in my D&D world. So urban it is. And he can pick 1 from interpersonal or intrigue skill groups. Probably intrigue, because I'll probably say this a few times during this video. Sorrow and Woe are not interested in interpersonal relationships. So it won't be, let's see. So alertness, I mean, that's always good. Disguise, I mean, maybe, so they are enforcers, they are assassins, they are hunters and trackers, right? Sorrow and Woe's purpose is whenever somebody crosses the Shroud, to the extent that the Shroud marks them for death, they send the twins after them. And so, but I don't think disguise works here, even though maybe from a different point of view, it might. They're not interested, the twins they're not interested in disguising themselves, right? They're not trying to hide. They might be stealthy when they're tracking a target, but they're not trying to con their way in or out of some place. Right, once they find you, they just find the most efficient, direct way of killing you and be done with it. And so I don't really see him as disguising himself for that. So right now, alertness might be my first choice. Escape artist, maybe. But again, Sorrow would view it as a failing if he was captured, like a professional failing. If he was captured and needed to escape, he would view needing to use a disguise as a professional failing. So they are a bit arrogant in that way, but it's an earned arrogance. Let's see. Intimidate, interrogate, hide. I mean, hide, yeah. Sabotage, search, sneak, track, all these are good. I'm going to pick alertness, though, just to start. Okay, so I have picked urban, and now I need to pick an organization down here. Your culture's organization aspect determines the functioning and leadership of your community. You might come from a place with an officially recognized government and a system of laws. Yes, that's the Hells. Bureaucratic. There's no other way to describe the Hells in any in any fantasy world or the real world, if you subscribe to that. So let's see. Bureaucratic, and I can pick intrigue or lore. Okay, probably still intrigue, but so this is interesting. This is my first time, like I said, really using Forged Steel, and it doesn't really, it includes, like, these are all the skills that belong to those skill groups, but it doesn't, not that it really matters, I guess, but I can figure this out. Let's see, sneak, track, I already took alertness, criminal underworld, probably, I mean, but if he's going to be a shadow, maybe he gets that later on. So let's do track. Because that is part of their function. And then upbringing. Your culture's upbringing aspect is a more specific and personal part of your hero's story, describing how you were individually raised within your culture. Glad I read that. Were you trained to become the newest archmage in a secret order of wizards, or be a sword-wielding bodyguard who protected that arcane organization? I like to think that they were, like, bottom of the barrel, right? The Sorrow Woe have a unique story, or maybe it's not that unique, in that they were born in the Hells, somehow ended up being sold into slavery, and were gladiators. They were slave gladiators. And they did so extraordinarily well that in the sort of traditional Roman style, right, they were put up on pedestals, sometimes literally. They were showered with gifts, but they were still slaves. It was just the cage was very gilded because of their success. Their cage was gilded by their success. And that is not really, they were not born into, like, they didn't have a special or privileged birth. So probably labor. That sort of seems like they weren't necessarily, didn't grow up illegal, with an illegal upbringing yet. Not enable. No, I'm going to go labor. So is this up here? Labor. And then for labor, they can choose blacksmithing, handle animals, or one skill from the exploration skill group. Okay, so let's take a blacksmithing, no. Climb, probably. Endurance, maybe. Gymnastics, that seems like his kind of thing. Jump is that too. I'm going to go with gymnastics because that is his vibe. Okay, we're done with culture. On to career now. Oh, well, that's easy. Gladiator. They were gladiators. Okay. Let's see. Well, artisan, criminal. They're not criminals yet. They join a criminal organization later. Gladiator. Yeah, it's got to be gladiator. Performer. No. Gladiator. Okay. 2 skills. Is that what I do? Yeah, 2 skills from the exploration skill group. Okay. Climb. I don't have that yet, right? No, I took gymnastics before. Okay, so climb and jump, probably. Yeah, let's just do climb and jump. Right, I did that right. Okay, and a language, probably Kalian. I guess this doesn't really matter, but narratively speaking, they were slaves. I'm actually not sure. So this is where the translation from D&D into Forged Draw Steel will be imperfect, is because in their D&D backstory, they were sold into drow slavery. And so they would have learned to speak whatever the drow language is, Elvish. But here, I actually don't know, if I'm moving their story from here into, like, the Orden into the timeskip, the MCDM's world. I don't know who would have enslaved them, who they would have been sold to as slaves. And so I'm just going to pick Kalian because I know that's, I think, the sort of generic language of the world. So I'll just pick that. All right. And then, wait, what's this? Oh, criminal. No, what do I want? Gladiator inciting incident. Gladiator inciting incident. So I don't select that here in Forged Steel. Just, okay, interesting. So the only reason I'm noticing this is because so stuff like Forged Steel is great. Even D&D Beyond, I know people, I think, hate on that. I use it, my players use it, and it's just easy. It's convenient. But the issue, or at least the issue that I have with anything like that, this is not specific to D&D Beyond, but anything like that, including this, which is, I think, I'm sure made in somebody's free time, and it's absolutely wonderful, especially if it's made by one person in their free time. Like, come on, I couldn't do this. But my criticism of it is always that, of anything like this, is that, so you know the quote that the map is not the territory. And I think that's a useful something just always to keep in mind. But in cases like this, whether it's this or D&D Beyond, often the map becomes the territory because it becomes the only way through which somebody interacts with the game, right? And so just as an example for this, right? So I'm not seeing any inciting incident option here unless it's somewhere else. But my point is that in the rules, if I were to read this and I get to this inciting incident, like this is a really nice way of adding flavor to your backstory. And especially if you are creating a character from scratch and you don't know who this character is yet, which separately, I actually think the draw steel rules for doing that are really great for creating a character who you don't know yet. And I think often we might have an idea of who a character is when we go into the character creation process, which is fine. But there is something really lovely about creating something you don't know yet and getting to know them as you create them and as you play the game, right? There's a lot can be said for leaving a fairly blank backstory and then in the game filling it in and creating it on the fly with your players and with the DM. That can feel really great. I highly recommend playing that way. But we're not doing that here. We're creating NPCs that already exist and that I know everything there is to know about them. So, inciting incident. Let's see if any of these apply. Betrayed. A local crime lord offered you money to throw your last bout. Maybe. Heckler. As you stood victorious on the arena sands, a voice cried out among the cheering. This violence is just for show. You should be ashamed. Let's see. You never saw the person, again, utter these words, but they weigh heavy. No, they don't weigh heavy on sorrow and woe. The next day you fled to begin a new life? No. New challenges. You earned every title you could. You beat every opponent willing to face you. There are other greater foes out there, and you mean to find them. It's got to be that one. So, technically, the inciting incident might be the fact that sorrow and woe were the peak, the pinnacle of, the gladiators in their arena. And they were showered with all sorts of praise and gifts and riches and so on. But they came to work for the Shroud because the Shroud learned of them and approached their owners and just offered to buy them. And they bought them. The Drow agreed because the Shroud offered some astronomical sum or maybe a favor or something like that. The Shroud is also the kind of thing where it's like, I'll make them an offer you can't refuse, right? That's very Shroud. That's a very Shroud thing to do. And so maybe that's how it was done. Point is, they were sold or given to the Shroud, and the Shroud immediately freed them and said, hey, if you want to, you work for us, and we will meet the needs, the lifestyle you have become accustomed to, this extraordinarily lavish lifestyle. You will have all that and more, as long as you act as our enforcers and assassins whenever we call upon you. And that means the people that they are sent after are dangerous, right? They are people who were willing and able to cross the Shroud, right? To draw the Shroud's anger. And so they're not being sent after pickpockets. They're being sent after dangerous people, sometimes the player characters in a campaign. And so I like that one as, one of the ways that the Shroud convinced Sorrow and Woe to work for them was at the prospect of, challenges beyond what they could find in a gladiatorial arena. And so that's absolutely, there's nowhere to put this here as far as I'm aware, but this is absolutely the inciting incident for both of these characters. Okay. Career is done. Class. So this part's easy. I already gave it away earlier. Shadow. Sorrow, the Black Sun, is a shadow. Okay, so let's go to the shadow page here. Fury. No. Shadow. Okay. Let's read about the shadow. Subtlety is your art, the tip of the blade your brush. You studied at a secret college, specializing in alchemy, illusion, or shadow magics. Your training and knowledge places you among the elite assassins, spies, and commandos. But more powerful than any weapon or sorcery is your insight into your enemy's weakness. As a shadow, you have abilities that deal a lot of damage, let you move swiftly across the battlefield and away from hazards, and allow you to fade from notice even in the middle of the most heated combat encounter. You also possess more skills than any other hero. Neat. Okay, so I knew he was a shadow because he's a rogue-inspired NPC in D&D. So, let's see. And actually, I should have, up in the attic, I have the minis for Sorrow Woe, and I should have brought them down for this video. This is part of the problem with just pressing record and rambling and doing it on the fly. But Sorrow he wields a chain whip as his weapon in the mini and in his stat block. And so I love the visual of him, almost pirouetting around the battlefield, whipping this chain and his barbed tail now, because we could do that in Draw Steel. And it's just this little whirlwind of, deadly grace all over the battlefield. But let's read, what college does he belong to? What shadow college? So I'm actually not sure. I'm familiar with the Black Ash College because that was in the patron packet that I played. And I really like that one. And I think this probably fits Sorrow the best, but let's read the other two. College of Caustic Alchemy. The College of Caustic Alchemy teaches its students recipes for the acids, bombs, and poisons used in their grim work. Graduates of the college are exceptional assassins. You gain the alchemy skill. Okay, well, he is an exceptional assassin, but I don't know if he uses bombs and acids. College of the Harlequin Mask. Harlequin? Graduates of the College of the Harlequin Mask learn illusion magic, which they use to infiltrate enemy strongholds and create orchestrated chaos in combat. You gain the lie skill. That's cool. I would play that, but I don't think Sorrow wears a Harlequin mask. So it's going to be between Black Ash and Caustic Alchemy. And I'm not sure. Let's go read some of these features, because just from reading the descriptions, I'm not really sure which one. So let's read some of these abilities, and then we will make a decision. So Black Ash gets Black Ash Teleport. This is great, but I'll read it. So it's a maneuver. You teleport up to 5 squares. If you end this movement in concealment or cover, you can use the hide maneuver even if you are observed. In a swirl of Black Ash, you step from one place to another. That's cool. And I knew that was cool. I like that one a lot. So let's look at, Caustic Alchemy gets Coat the Blade and Smoke Bomb. Coat the Blade. Just a little poison goes a long way. It's a maneuver. You coat one of your weapons with a harmful poison. The next creature you damage with an ability that uses that weapon takes extra poison damage equal to twice your presence score, where the target is weakened. And the Smoke Bomb. You can use the hide maneuver even if you are observed and don't start in cover or concealment. If you do, you can shift a number of squares equal to your agility. Okay, so it's another way for him to hide. But visually, the Black Ash Teleport is too thematic for how I picture Sorrow moving around the battlefield. So I'm going to pick. So, I forgot to pick my array, my characteristic array. Okay, so you start with agility 2 and presence of 2. This is right here. And choose one of the following arrays for your other characteristics. So 2, -1, -1. Yep, okay, that's cool. Okay, so Sorrow and his sister Woe do not, he's going to get 2 presence anyways because that's what comes with the shadow, but they don't care about interpersonal skills. I like might being -1 here because he is slim and slender, and so it's going to be one of this one, or this one, right? One of the -1s in might. And so then the question is what I want to do with reason, or I think that's intuition. In the pre-gen character sheets that came with the Draw Steel packet, intuition is listed as INU, but has to be what it means here. So what do I think? 1 in each for reason or intuition, or -1 intuition and 2 reason, or -1 reason and 2 intuition. I kind of like 1 only because I'm not actually sure. I mean, reasonably intelligent, reasonable. His reason is reasonable, and so I'm just gonna pick this one. Yeah, okay. -1 in might and 1 in 1. Split the difference. I have a friend who said once that I think it's in the absence of strong information, you can just go halvesies. And so halvesies it is. Okay. So I picked College of Black Ash, and now I need to pick skills. Okay, so I can pick Criminal Underworld 5 skills, including Criminal Underworld from the Exploration list, from the Interpersonal list, and from the Intrigue list. That's right here. So I get Hide and Sneak too. That's very good. Okay. Does that say there anyone here? Oh, right here. Hide and Sneak. See, I should read. Okay. So I already have those, so I don't need to pick those. And so I do want Criminal Underworld now because he's part of the Criminal Underworld at this point, right? Whether he becomes a shadow after he's freed from slavery by the Shroud or becomes one while he's a gladiator, maybe the gladiatorial arena, there is a College of Black Ash like underneath the arena, and that is where he learned his shadow arts. That'd be actually kind of cool. And then his enslavers, whether they're drow or dusk elves or whatever it is in the timescape, something, who knows, whatever it is, they're like, where does he get these powers from? But they don't care enough to actually find out because it's too entertaining. So Criminal Underworld, yes. We already have alertness. Actually, I don't remember. See, this is the other thing, by the way. I mean, I assume I can go back, but just back to my comment on the map becomes the territory. So now I'm not sure which of these I picked before. I remember picking alertness, but I don't remember any of the other ones I picked. So I'm going to go back really fast. So I took climb and jump here, and then alertness, track, gymnastics. So track, gymnastics, climb, jump. I already have all those, so I don't need that. So I have a maybe conceal object. That just is thematic. Not disguise. I already explained why I don't like that for him. Maybe eavesdrop. Maybe endurance, right? They are trackers, right? So they have to, Sorrow and Woe have to be able to travel for a long time as their quarry flees from them, assuming the quarry knows they're even being hunted. Let's see. I already have sneak. I already have. Did I take track? Search, probably be good. Sabotage. Read people, no. Like I said before, they don't care about reading people, so no. Pick lock. Probably just to be able to, get to their target if their target is behind lock and key, so I'm going to pick that one. I will pick search. I can pick 2 more. I already have these. Not that. I'm going to do eavesdrop. No, well, I don't know if I want to use. I'm going to do endurance because thematically that fits with their role as hunters and assassins. And I think one left. Heal is, I assume heal is, this point, I'm not sure how much it matters. Interrogate, maybe. Read a map and travel without becoming. I'm just going to pick eavesdrop. Okay. Now I can choose a signature class ability. Let's see what these options are. Am I reading this right? Shadow of signature. Okay, it's next page. Distracting Pain. Your precise strike lets your allies take advantage of a target's agony. And that attack gains an edge, the target falls prone. That's very cool. Reach 1 or range 3. I like that a lot, especially because they're twins. Sorrow and Woe are twins. And obviously they're going to fight in the kind of harmony that only twins are capable of. And so that very thematically fits with the idea of Sorrow, distracting, tripping, weakening in some fashion the target, and then Woe, his sister, Woe the White Sky, who is going to be a Fury, comes in and just, deals the crushing blow. I work better alone? No, because he doesn't work better alone. He works with a partner. Shot and Step, that's a ranged attack. He doesn't really do ranged attacks. He is fast and he uses a whip, but not a ranged attack. Sucker Slice, keeping enemies focused on you lets your ally hit hard. Okay, that seems thematically accurate. If you are flanking the target when you make this attack, one ally who is flanking with you has a double edge against the target until the end of the ally's next turn. Okay, that's cool, but you know what? I don't think that's the choice here because, again, there's only 2 of them. If this was a larger actual party of player characters, and there was 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, that would work really well because the chances of you flanking an enemy with one of the other, 2 to 5 players in your group is higher than if there's just one other player in your group, which is his sister in this case. And so that doesn't actually, the payoff is not going to come up that much. The flanking rule is not going to come up that much when there's just the 2 of them, especially if, the rest of the party gets to go more and there's moving around a lot and so on. So Distracting Pain absolutely seems to be the choice, especially given how they fight together and so on. Okay, Distracting Pain. And now I choose a heroic ability. This one is 3. It costs list of abilities that cost 3 insight, and then a 5-point ability later on, even more powerful. So the 3.1. Let's see. Blade Dance. So I actually know what this one does because one of my players, when I ran the Bay of Black Bottom, was a shadow and took Blade Dance, so I got to see that in action. Quick Pursuit. A foe forced away from you might assume they're out of danger, but they soon learn otherwise. And I can shift them, right? You can shift the target. 2 throats at once. Striking 2 foes at once is second nature to you. Reach 1 or range 5. I can strike 2 objects. Okay. Or Wounding Strike. You leave your foe bleeding out after a devastating attack. I kind of like that one. I mean, it's not... I don't think Blade Dance makes... Blade Dance is cool. It's very cool. But given their role as assassins, like targeted assassins, right? I mean, yes, they sometimes will have to fight multiple, if the assassin or the target has guards, then they will often be fighting groups larger than just the 2 of them. But Wounding Strike is thematic. It's something he would use on the target itself, or his or herself, themselves. So Wounding Strike. And then let's see what the 5 insight abilities. Okay, Assassinate. Massive damage. Yeah, probably that. Get in, get out, move unexpectedly, strike fast, be gone. You can move up to your speed, and that movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks. You can move before or after your attack. Split. Oh, okay, so it's movement, extra movement, and extra damage, right? This is more damage than like a typical signature attack would be, I think, right? 12 versus 17, yeah. Impairing Shot, he's not really ranged. But quickness, you make 2 signature attacks that each deal extra damage equal to twice your agility. So at level 1, that would be 4 extra damage, 4 points of extra damage. And 2 I think assassinate. I have described them as assassins, so I think if I don't pick assassinate, I think I have to stop making YouTube videos. I will be banned from YouTube. Okay. That's everything for the shadow selections. Okay, next up is kit. Now I know that there is a whip kit, but I don't remember the name of it. So let's go to the kits here. Oh, nope, too far. Cloak and dagger, no. Guisamir. I don't know how to say that, although I really like it because pole arms are one of my favorite weapon types just visually. Martial artist, no. Mountain, no. Panther, heavy weapon, no. Pugilist, Bach, no. Raider, ranger, rapid fire, shining armor, sniper. Whirlwind. The whirlwind kit makes effective use of whips, granting you mobility, damage, and reach. If you want to be a mobile warrior who uses a chain or whip, then this is the kit for you. This is the kit for Sorrow. That's the one we're picking. So a speed bonus, damage bonus, reach bonus, and mobility. Mobility, when an enemy ends their turn adjacent to you, you can shift up to 2 squares as a free triggered action. Okay. Well, whirlwind is... Oh, and then signature ability, extension of my arm. Reach 3, cool. And extra damage plus pull. I like that. Okay, so whirlwind it is. Is this in alphabetical order? Yes, it is. Okay, whirlwind. Okay, that's it. Next, complication. So I don't know if any complications will make sense for these two. I love the idea of complications. I think I either read or heard somewhere that there's going to be a lot more of them in the final book, which I think is outstanding. Because these are really the kind of things that like can give a little bit of extra flavor, or I mean, it's not just flavor. There's mechanics involved with these, but extra narrative oomph to a character, especially if what I talked about earlier. If you're sort of getting to know the character as you are creating them, which maybe I'll do another video doing that. Right, getting to know a character as you are getting to know them. I just said that twice. Then this is a really great way of adding some flavor that you didn't know maybe you wanted or needed until you get to this point in the character creation process. But I don't know if any of these are particularly relevant for Sorrow. And well, there might, in the final book, there might be ones that work great for them, but definitely not Cult Victim, not Devil Deal. I mean, they're devils, and maybe they've made deals. I mean, maybe. Guess that's not totally out of the realm, but in this case, it would be less like, oh, you made a deal with an archdevil, and more like, ugh, he's calling again. What does he want this time? Like, because they're from hell, this is, what else do we have? Shipwrecked? No. Vivid Dreams? No. Ward, your childhood sweet arrows royalty? No. War of the Guilds. It might be that one. Maybe they were caught in between a war of guilds in the hells, right? Like I assume there's different guilds or something in hells, like the accountants guild and the whatever the people who witness and sign documents. I can't think of that's what it's called now. That's embarrassing. They're just two guild war between two different bookkeeping guilds. Right? Who comes out on top? And that's how they got caught in the middle of that. And maybe that's how they ended up being sold into slavery. So I'm going to go War of the Guilds. I'm not sure how closely it works, but it is what it is. Okay. And then, is that it? I think I go up here. Name. Sorrow. The Black Sun. Save changes. Okay, there he is. This looks good. Oh, wait, what? Can I click on this? I can't. Very cool. I didn't even know you could do this. Okay. Andy Aiken, if that's your name. Awesome. Very cool. Is this editable? Oh my gosh. Can dude, if you are a dude, this is really cool. Thank you. I assume, yeah. Damn it. You can roll. Oh my gosh, you can. Okay. Roll. Natural 20. No, 16. Still good. Okay. This is really cool, but here he is. Here is Sorrow the Black Sun. He is a Black Ash shadow, a shadow of the College of Black Ash, former gladiator, current assassin, enforcer, chief hunter of the Shroud, this multiplanar criminal organization. And I think that's it, right? We're done. Speed 9. Oh, that's so good. I mean, just I like very fast characters. Like when I am running as the DM, when I'm running monsters for against my players, maybe I do this too often, but I really have a preference for fast uh monsters, fast stat blocks. You know, whether it's actual fast speed or they have abilities that let them teleport and move around. Just having a dynamic battlefield is so much better. And kind of scaring players, right? When something moves, 9 squares or 60 feet, when you're like didn't expect something to be move that fast, there's always that moment of fear from the players, right? We're like, oh, this is serious now. This guy's dangerous. This girl's dangerous. I love that. And so that's very cool. Okay. Um, close, I guess. There he is. Sorrow the Black Sun. He is a devil, was a gladiator, freed to become the shadow assassin of the Shroud. And he uses a chain whip with like knives on the end of a barbed chain whip. Okay. All right. I need to take a break, and then when I get back, which will be very soon for you, or is just gonna be a little jump cut, I'm going to be back to create Woe, the White Sky. Okay. So that was clearly longer than a few minutes. Lighting is not the same. It is dark out. So I don't get that great natural light coming in. Get the overhead light. I got some tea. And now it's time to finish creating these characters. So we finished with Sorrow. And now it's time to make his bigger sister, Woe. Not older, bigger. Okay, so let's create a new hero. A devil again, just like Sorrow. Although this time, let's go back up to the devil entry. She will not have the same choices as him. Oops, too far. Okay, here we go. So Woe is a fury. She is bigger, she is stronger, she is meaner, she is more intimidating. Visually, I always pictured him as, this skinny, sort of slinking fellow dressed in a black robe, hood up, whereas she is this, hulking brute dressed in white. I always pictured her dressed completely in white. And they are white as well. White horns, white hair, white skin, like albino-ish. Not ish, they're just albinos. Some of you may have figured this out already, but they're heavily inspired by, at least visually, inspired by the twins from the second Matrix movie, I think it was. The two like ghost twins. Just visually and narratively, I thought those were really interesting characters. And so these twins are inspired by them, at least a little bit. But he is, dressed in this black voluminous robe, whereas she is dressed in like simple white, like white leather pants and a white leather vest. And that's basically it. And so visually, even though they are twins, they're also there's a striking contrast between them. So I think exposed skeleton is the choice here for her, right? She's going to be in melee, taking a lot of damage. And visually, I love the concept of her bones like growing out of her skin to change to give her a silhouette that's even more intimidating than it otherwise or already would have been. So that's 2 points. We're gonna go exposed skeleton. But I'm not sure about the other one. Could do barbed tail again. I mean, she's going to be doing melee damage. And that could be visually like something that they have in common that indicates they are related. What else? Glowing eyes, a triggered action to do psychic damage, and they are going to be taking a lot of damage. That could be cool. I don't know what kind of triggered actions Furies have. So that could be cool, or we could always go back and like change our mind about this. I don't like that. I have this weird aversion to, you know, early optimization. Then again, it happens anyways. Hellsight, that's just like sort of generally good. I don't know. Or horns. I like horns. Your cherished horns are a hardened representation of your force of will, granting you an edge on presence resistance rolls. Okay, that's pretty cool. One, because again, visually it plays up the intimidating silhouette that she has with the horns and the exposed skeleton. And I have to imagine Furies are otherwise not particularly good at presence tests, presence rolls, resistance rolls. So that could be good. I'm going to go horns. I just think it's too cool visually to not. So horns. Okay, that's it for devil. So culture. So the culture will be the same as sorrow. So we're going to do the same language. And we chose urban, but the skills are going to be different, right? So let's make these choices first, and then we'll go down and do the skills. So urban, bureaucratic, and labor, right? Because they had the same upbringing. So urban skills. Let's go to that on the rules packet. Oop, there we go. Interpersonal, right here. Interpersonal or intrigue skill groups. Remember, they don't care about interpersonal relationships. So I could go with alertness again, just because that seems to be sort of always good. Although it might not be. I mean, this is an interesting, here's a tangent. Perception is just viewed as the best skill to have in D&D because it comes up so often, right? Like so much stuff is based around perception. And I just don't know if that will be the case in Draw Steel. Meaning, there's going to be other ways of finding stuff or discovering stuff. There could be, like, depending, the written adventures might, be written such that it doesn't rely on alertness so much. That's something to consider. There's also the fact that a lot of D&D, like, perception comes in when you are, dungeon crawling or sneaking. And I don't know if the adventures that D&D is written for, not for is the wrong word. Adventures that are written for D&D, not that D&D is for. Adventures that are written for D&D often have elements that need to rely heavily on alerts. I'm kind of saying the same thing I just did. Point is, we don't know if that will be as good as perception is in D&D. So, I could still take alertness, but let's see what else we got. She doesn't care about almost any of this. Maybe intimidate. Doesn't care about interpersonal relationships, but she just is intimidating just by existing. And so it could be the kind of thing like she never had to try really hard to intimidate somebody. Narratively, I like that. Not sure how more of these. I'm going to go track. They are trackers. They're good at it. But I am going to go intimidate just because I like the idea of, at this point in her life, maybe, she's born with these huge horns and this exposed skeleton. And so, she's brought up in the hells in this urban environment along with Sorrow, her little brother. But she discovers, just because of how she was born, that she is intimidating to other people, even other devils. So I like that. Okay, bureaucratic. is one skill from the intrigue or lore skill groups. Okay, alertness again, criminal underworld. Maybe again, she is not at this point in her life, meaning pre becoming a gladiator slave gladiator. She's not a criminal yet. And so she would not have knowledge of the criminal underworld. So let's see what else there is. Magic, history, monster, maybe monsters. I mean, not through education, she wouldn't know this, but through life lessons, street smart, pickpocket. No, maybe sabotage. Track. I'm gonna do track. Okay, and then labor is blacksmithing, handle animals, or from the exploration skill group. Okay, climb, endurance, not gymnastics. Climb, endurance, jump, lift. Gotta be lift, right? She's big, strong woman. Yes, lift. Okay. Career, gladiator. Language, Kalian, just like her brother. And skills, 2 skills from the exploration skill lift, and her inciting incident. So sorry, this is sort of on 2 pages. 2 skills from the exploration skill group. I didn't actually read this out before. Title: Monologue Champion. When you are not in combat, you can shout to get the attention of all creatures within 10 squares of you. Each creature who is not hostile toward you listens to what you have to say for at least the next minute, or until they sense danger or any form of imminent harm. While creatures are listening to you, your allies gain an edge on tests made to avoid being noticed by these creatures. Okay, that's cool. That's very, very thematic, very cinematic. Cool. Okay. But what I was interested in is the inciting incident. So it's going to be the same as for Sorrow, new challenges, right? They were freed by the Shroud and then offered a position as their enforcers and assassins. And the carrot was this extremely lavish lifestyle, and also the fact that you will be challenging yourself against more dangerous foes than you have been able to find in this gladiator arena. So that's the inciting incident. But let's do the skills. Okay. Climb, good. Endurance, good. Jump, good. I like endurance. All right, that's her thing. At least one of them, right? She's big and tough. And then we already did lift. So either jump or climb. I'm going to pick jump just because I love the visual of her, jumping some absurd distance to reach somewhere or someone that maybe thought they were safe from her. And she just jumps right up. Okay. 2. Good. Okay, class. Fury. Okay, so let's read about the Fury. Okay. You do not temper the heat of battle within you. You unleash it. Like a raptor, a panther, a wolf, your experience in the wild taught you the secret of channeling unfettered anger into martial prowess. Primordial chaos is your ally. Leave it to others to use finesse to clean up the pieces you leave behind. That's good. As a Fury, you have the abilities that deal a lot of damage, move you around the battlefield, and grow in strength as your rage increases. Nature has no concept of fairness, and neither do you. That's cool. Whoever wrote that, kudos. Okay, so I know she's a Fury. Let's do her characteristics, and then we can read about the aspects, the primordial aspects. So characteristics, might and agility are all 2. So where do I want the negatives to go? Mm, either reason or presence or both. Is there one that does both? This one right here, and then intuition is a 2. Nope, I like presence. Again, not because she is personable, but because she has presence. So let's do a 1 in presence. So then where does that leave us? That's not okay. So a 1, a 1, a 1. So zeros across, -1 in intuition, or I like a -1 in reason. She is unreasonable, but she has presence. So that's our choice there. Okay. Primordial aspect. This we need to read about. Okay. You come from a tradition older than civilization, older than warfare, older than most of the world. You have undergone a rite of passage that revealed the building blocks of the timescape, the primordial chaos, and which left an aspect of the primordial chaos inside you. As you channel the rage that shapes you, you can choose a primordial aspect from the following: Berserker. You channel your rage into expressions of physical might, acting as a living version of the forces that reshape the world. You gained the lift skill. Oh, we already picked the lift skill. If we picked that one, did we already pick the lift skill? Endurance jump, intimidate track lift. Ugh, okay. Uh, I mean, we can just pick another one, I think. Reaver. You channel your rage into instinct and cunning, challenging the false order of civilization. You gain the hide skill. That's cool. I don't think that's for her. So far, it's probably Berserker. I love the concept of a a fear, like a barbarian, a fury that is not just purely a hulking dumb monster. And the Reaver seems to really lean into like a different kind of play style or fantasy. Very cool. I would play a Reaver, but she's not a Reaver. And because challenging the false order of civilization, the Shroud is completely civilized. Right? That is not that she loves civilization. She lives one of the most lavish lifestyles probably anybody has ever lived in the history of my world because of the Shroud and because of civilization. So no, they do not want to tear it down. They want to exploit it. And Stormright. You channel your rage into the form of animals and primordial storms. You gain the track skill. Okay, that's cool. I think that's the shape-shifting one. I haven't seen anybody play that yet, but that has to be what that is. Okay, so it's going to be Berserker. That is an easier decision than Sorrow was, I think. So, Berserker. And then skills, nature, which was here. Yep, right there. Plus, choose any 2 skills from the exploration or intrigue skill group. Okay. Now I need to go back, though, and change this out. Climb. So we have jump over here. Yeah, okay. Okay. Maybe heal. We already have a lot of these. Okay, track and heal, I think, are our choices. Oh, we already have track. See. The territory becomes the map. Although the alerts, like the little warning there, nice. Because I don't think that exists on D&D Beyond. Or if it does, it's nowhere near as obvious as that one is. Sir, sabotage. Okay. I like the idea of her being offended by anything too clever. And so she destroys it. Okay, a signature ability. So I've got to read these. Let's see. Brutal Slam. So I'm right here. Oops. Brutal Slam. The heavy impact of your weapon attacks drive your foes ever backward. Okay, that's cool. Reach or damage and push. Okay. Hit and run. Keeping in constant motion helps you slip out of reach after a brutal assault. So what? Damage and then slowed, and you can shift one square after the attack is resolved. I like that. For a Reaver, that would be cool. Okay. Humiliating Strike. You hit with a strength that's worth the risk of raising your opponent's ire. I like that, only because she would not care about offending her opponent. So damage, same damage as the other ones, 3, 8, 12, and the effect is you can choose to do an extra 1d6 damage to the target. If you do, the target gains an edge on their next attack against you. I like that. It's narratively appropriate for her because she just won't care if they are attacking her back, right? And especially with the exposed skeleton, is the assumption is that she will shrug off at least a portion of that damage every time. Okay, but there's more. One more, right? Impaling Strike. Fighting up close lets you keep your foes exactly where you want them. And, okay, 3, 8, 12, same damage, and then slowed or grabbed. Okay, if the target is grabbed, they take a bane on attempts to escape the grab. If you move while you have the target grabbed, they take 1 damage for each square you move. Okay, that's cool. I like that a lot. But I feel like Humiliating Strike is the choice here. It's too much like Woe. So Humiliating Strike. Okay, and then I've got to do my first heroic ability, my 3 rage heroic ability. Okay, Death Before Beauty. Your enemies will get out of your way, whether they want to or not. Okay, 3, 5, 8, lower damage, slide 3. So when you force move the creature, you can move into squares they leave. The target takes the damage from any free strikes you provoke with this movement. Oh, interesting. Right, because I think normally forced movement does not trigger, free strikes, opportunity attacks. But in this case, it does, right? That seems to be what it is. Okay, that's cool. But I don't think this is for her, especially because kind of like with some of Sorrow's abilities when we made certain choices, it's just going to be the two of them usually. And so she can't really count on that triggering more than one and probably none, depending on the layout of the battlefield, not triggering more than one opportunity attack. So that's not really it. Stab me so I can pull myself closer to you? Who named that ability? Okay, whoever did that, well done. When you barrel through your foes, they feel your wrath. Okay, so target is self, right? And then the effect is you move up to your speed in a straight line towards a creature or object. You don't treat enemy creatures as difficult terrain for this move. If the target is a creature, you can end your movement in the target's square, moving them to an adjacent open square. Make a power roll against the target make a power roll against the target and every enemy you moved through. Okay. Okay, and then wait, there's an effect. The target takes an extra 1d6 damage for every free strike you triggered from your move. Okay, that's cool. 5, 6, 9, but then let's say an extra 1, hopefully at least 1d6, otherwise you wouldn't use that ability. So the average, so really say 3, so really 8, 9, or 12 for the damage. Okay, I like that one a lot. The only thing that makes me somewhat hesitate is moving in a straight line. Obviously, that means you may not it might be too situational. But straight lines can be diagonals, I assume. So who knows? Okay, let's read the other ones. Whirlwind Strike. As your foes close in around you, why bother taking them on one by one? Okay, that's cool. I mean, so area of effect, burst 1, or 1 burst. Right, so 1 square all around woe. 3, 4, 7, you can push them away. I mean, that might be good if only because there's a reasonable chance, like, narratively, right? I'm trying to make narrative decisions because the chance of these characters actually getting played is very low. And so I'm more interested in the narrative decisions, not the optimal decision. So narratively, this could make sense because there's a reasonable chance that her and Sorrow are often outnumbered. Maybe not if they might be tasked with just killing one target, but there's a fair chance that that target might have goons, soldiers, bodyguards, and so on. So that could work narratively. Okay. Your entrails are your X trails. X. Unless they get some help, your foe is finished. So reach, this is maybe a little typo. Reach 1. I do not, believe me, I've written a lot in my real job. I write regularly for publication, and I've written many long things. Well, maybe not many. I've written a few very long things. And but little stuff like that, like you would be so surprised. For those of you who have written and published, you know what I'm talking about. For those of you who haven't, you can look at something 900 times and be like, yes, it's perfect. And then you publish it, and then you're like, error, 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 error. And you notice so many things like mistake, wrong date, misspelled name. How did you miss all of these things before? Nobody knows. It just happens. Also, this obviously is like not even, probably hasn't even gone to a real editor. So, I didn't even read this. Okay, let's read the ability. 6, 9, 14. That's a nice high end. And then slowed. Every outcome is slowed. While slowed in this way, the target takes an extra 3 damage at the start of each of your turns. Oh, but there's this. So end of turn, end of encounter. Okay. So it's not just slowed. This is a more, the bottom one is a more permanent form of slowed. Okay. That's cool. I'm not like, but I like that. Okay, so that was the last one because the next are the 5 rage abilities. So how do we? Death Before Beauty is cool, but it's not going to trigger very often, if at all. Stab me so I can pull myself closer to you is amazing. I would pick this if it was just me making this character to play. This would be my pick. Whirlwind Strike narratively kind of works because they will often be outnumbered, and then your entrails are your extrails. Is cool. I think this. Actually wonder how often this is getting picked, because I feel like this might be the sleeper hit. I mean, or maybe not. I don't know. But let's actually remind ourselves what slowed does. Oops. Nope. 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 Right there. When you are slowed, your speed is 2 unless it is already lower. Okay. So it just make it like this is very different from D&D slowed. It's just literally you are slow, right? No effect on actions or maneuvers or anything. Okay. I actually kind of like that. It's a lot easier to keep track of. Because trying to explain every time I slow somebody or somebody gets slowed in D&D and it's like, okay, here we go again. Let's explain it. Let's read it. I think this is the pick. I like that one. The damage is good, and Whirlwind Strike makes narrative sense because they're outnumbered. This also makes narrative sense because they are hunting and tracking and, killing a target. This will make it harder for the target to escape. So that's the pick. All right. And then now the 5-point ability. Blood for blood. Somebody's a Warhammer fan. A mighty strike leaves your foe reeling. 7, 11, 17. Weakened and bleeding. You can choose effect. You can choose to deal 1d6 damage to yourself to deal an extra 2d6 to the target. Oh, that's definitely a trade Will would make. She's absolutely the kind of person to make that trade. Let's read the other ones, but I like that one a lot. Brute precision. You can always trust your anger to get the job done. Free maneuver. The next attack you make this turn automatically achieves a tier 3 result and deals an extra 1d6 damage. Come on. Okay, that's cool too. Like, I could do this. If you had 8 rage, you could do this and your entrails are your extrails. It's a little wombo combo. I mean, you need 8 rage to pull that off, right? But that's pretty cool. But so is this one. Okay, let's read the other one. Dying blow. You focus your rage into a single devastating strike. Target is 1 creature, reach 1, 9, 13, 21. Spend 1 or more additional rage. If you are winded, you can add 1d6 damage for each rage spent. If you are dying, you can add 1d10 damage for each rage spent. In either case, you then lose 1d6 stamina. I love that. I mean, all of these 5 rage abilities are so good and very different. I like this a lot. Okay, let's read the last one. Primordial Shockwave. Probably not going to be this one. The destructive power of nature cannot be contained, so distance 5 times 1 line within 1. So like a 5 by 1 line. I assume, yeah. A square or a line that's 5 squares long, 1 square wide. Within 1, I assume means like it has to start within 1 square of you, which would make sense if, visually they're just slamming their weapon down and making this shockwave. Okay. 4, 5, 8, but big pushes. 2, 4, 6. Targets are pushed 1 at a time, starting with the target closest to you. Oh, target all enemies. Oh, yeah, okay. I mean, I should have figured. Interesting. I don't know how this sort of confuses me. So the way this reads to me is like, let's say Woe is here, and then there's a line of 3 enemies. 1, 2, 3. They're right in a row, perpendicular to her. And she does this slam and hits all of them. So if they are pushed, starting with the ones closest, that means that the one closest to her, let's say the push is 6. Push 6 squares, but there's an ally right behind them, so they get pushed into that ally and don't actually move, but take 6 extra damage. I think that's how that works. If that's wrong and anybody is still watching this, please correct me in the comments. Right? And then the second one, if they're 3 in a row, so the closest one doesn't push but doesn't move, takes 6 extra damage. The second one, same thing happens. And then the third one gets pushed 6. Okay, interesting. But again, I might be misremembering because I don't think the push has to be like in the exactly away from you. I feel like I saw something. I'm sure that's in the rules and I'm just misremembering it. But I'm pretty sure I saw something in the Discord. The Discord is great. You should join it. And it had there was pictures of like all the different directions you could push, right? And it wasn't, if I'm remembering this correctly, and I could be completely wrong, but if I'm not, then the push is basically, it just can't be a pull, right? Like you can push, the push can be in any direction away from you as long as it's away from you. And so maybe like the three could go pew like that, and you could actually push them away. I'm not sure. If somebody knows the answer to that, let me know. But the pick is going to be Dying Blow, and I will explain why. So after I take a drink, the so first of all, this is just absolutely the kind of thing that she would pick. But also, and something I haven't explained yet before in this video, is that Sorrow and Woe have died before in my D&D campaign. Both on-screen and backstory off-screen character design stuff. They've all died. They've each died multiple times. And Woe especially has died more than Sorrow, because Sorrow is the kind to live and fight another day, and it's very easy for Sorrow to escape. Woe is very stubborn and very willing to die to complete a mission. And she is very willing to die to complete a mission because she knows that the Shroud will go to great lengths to resurrect her. And so this just fits perfectly. So that's it. Okay, I think that's everything. Class-wise. So kit. Go to the kit section. Okay, here we go. Now, Woe does not wear armor. She does not wear armor, and she carries a big weapon. So what is the kit or kits that has that as the options? Okay, cloak and dagger. No. Guisamier, Guisamer. No, medium armor. And not a pole arm, right? Woe is a unsubtle person. And I feel like like a pole arm or a halberd is a weapon for a particularly skilled warrior. Could totally not be the case at all. I actually have no idea how easy or difficult it is to use a pole arm. But visually, it looks like a more elegant or civilized weapon than a great axe or a maul. Martial artist, no. Mountain, no. Panther, you wear no armor and wield a heavy weapon. That's probably it. But let's look at the other ones just to make sure. Pugilist, no. Raider is medium armor and a shield, no. Ranger, no. Rapid fire, no. Retiarius, I'm not sure. Light armor, a polearm, and several ensnaring weapons. That's cool. I know what the sort of Roman gladiator type that's inspired by, and I like that. Not for her though. Shining armor, no, that's heavy armor. Sniper, no. Stick and robe, nope. Swashbuckler, and then we picked whirlwind for Sorrow. So it's Panther it is. And then, so extra stamina, speed, stability. Ooh, yes. And sort of this pay. Oh, whoa. This pay. Nope. Signature ability, devastating rush. The faster you move, the harder you hit. You can move up to 3 squares straight toward the target before this attack. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so Panther is the kit. Complication, we're going to pick the same one, War of the Guilds. And then that's it, right? Details. Oh, name. Whoops. Whoa. White Scott. And save. And there she is. So speed is 6. She's 3 squares slower than her little brother. Might, agility. Okay, looks good. Let's do a little damage roll. Actually, does this... I wonder if this already adds this in. Let's go take a look. So, for the +4. So dying blow is 23 here. What is it in the rules before the... one. The heck? What about humiliating strike? Is that a typo? This might be a typo. Or error, rather. Humiliating strike? 3, 8, 12. 3, 8, 12. Okay, that's correct. So I assume this means this is actually 3, 8, 16 with the Panther kit. It's just not added in. Okay. All right. Well, there we go. So both are created. Woe, the white sky, and Sorrow, the black sun. The chief enforcers, assassins, and muscle of the Shroud, this multiplanar criminal organization that I use in my game. And the only... So far, the twins have made an appearance in my first campaign that I ran for my players. Very near the end of the campaign. They were a very high-level threat that the players had to defeat sort of on the way to the bad guys. Like, it was quite literally the capstone of the campaign was literally like a tower, like in a video game or whatever, where you're climbing the tower and each floor is a new challenge. That's literally how I designed the end of that campaign. And so the twins were waiting for them on one floor of that tower. And the players defeated them, obviously, killed them both. And like I said, that's the one time they've appeared, on screen where they died. But they have been resurrected since then. My players don't know that, although now they do if they watch this. It hasn't come up. They haven't come up. The twins haven't come up in our current campaign. Although the Shroud is a part of the current campaign. Just the tone of in the first campaign, they were facilitating the bad guy, and the twins were there to stop the players so that the ultimate villain could succeed. Although, and this is why I like the Shroud as a tool in a DM's toolkit or anything like the Shroud, is that they were right. The twins were sent to stop them, but when the twins were defeated, the Shroud essentially said, "Well, okay, that's not cool." And not in like "oh, we're going to kill you because you killed us" kind of way, but no, in like, though this represents the tipping point, because the Shroud, the masters of the Shroud, are very confident in the twins' abilities. I mean, they wouldn't be, or they would have to be if they've been resurrected multiple times. And so when the players killed the twins, the masters of the Shroud arrived and quickly negotiated the withdrawal of the Shroud's support for the villain, because the death of the twins was a wake-up call for them. And so, the master of the Shroud teleported in. They arrived very quickly. They retrieved the twins' bodies and all of the very powerful magic items that the twins have been outfitted with, and negotiated with the players. It was not so much, in fairness, it was not a negotiation in so much as it was the masters telling them, this is how it's going to be, because the masters could have defeated the players. The players were, at least a couple of the players, if I remember correctly, this was years ago, were on the fence about, let's just fight these guys. But I think thankfully the, consensus opinion was, let's not. let's just give them what they want, which was not much. It was the bodies of the twins and all the twins' equipment, right? That's the only thing they wanted. Then, and then we can just be on our way and they can be on their way. Because if the consensus opinion had been, let's just fight these assholes, then the players would have died. They would not have made it to the ultimate villain. And at that point, that just would have been how it was, right? And so I think when I do a video or a series of videos on the Shroud, one big component of that will be the Masters of the Shroud. And there are 5 of them. And I suppose I can list the names now just as, I don't know, teasers or whatever. Because I think they are each in their own interesting NPCs that can be used in different ways and played off of each other in different ways. And the Shroud is a, multi-tool in a DM's pocket, and the Masters are, the multi-tool within the multi-tool sort of meme. And so those Masters are the Lady of Space and Time, who is the chief. Technically, they are equals, but she is the first among equals. The Lady of Space and Time. After her comes Singer Through Bladed Grass. Singer Dancing Through Bladed Grass, excuse me. Singer Dancing Through Bladed Grass. After her is Eventide. Eventide is a drow or dark elf woman. So the lady is obviously a woman. Singer Dancing Through Bladed Grass is a wood elf, a woad elf in the case of the timescape. The lady is a high elf, and Eventide is a drow. So the Lady of Space and Time, Singer Dancing Through Bladed Grass, and Eventide are all elf women who make up the most senior masters of the Shroud. And then the other 2, who are the sort of the more junior members, are the Architect, who is I guess the only way I will describe him is that he has the body of a beast, but the mind of a mathematician. And then the final one is the Rest Eternal, who is a half-giant Goliath, Hakan, choose your descriptive term. And he is the most spiritual. Well, maybe. Eventide is spiritual, but the Rest Eternal is, or the Sleep Eternal. His name it changes. And he will probably be if I were to make him in the timescape in Draw Steel, he would be a null. He's a monk inspired in D&D. And so those 5 figures arrived after my players killed the twins and retrieved their bodies and went on their way. And those 5 masters are still active in the current campaign, although again, the Shroud's role in this campaign in the current one is very different than it is or was in the first campaign. So that's it. Thanks for sticking around. I wanted to try something different, something a little bit more rambly, something a little bit more relaxed, frankly, because there's that line from Mark Twain, something like, I'm going to get this wrong, but if you want me to speak for an hour, I'm ready now. If you want me to speak for 5 minutes, I need a week to prepare. That's kind of what this is, right? Those short, punchy, scripted videos, they take a little bit of effort, right? To write the script, edit the script itself and all that stuff. And I just wanted to do something a little bit more relaxed and easier for me to do, frankly. So that's it. I don't know if I'll do one of these again or if I will. It'll probably be more of a discovery process, right? I already knew these 2 characters going into this. The next one I do of this style, if I do another one, it will be, discovering the character as we create them. Thanks for listening if you're still around, and hope you're all doing well. See ya.